Hey, Sharati here. As I posted a poll on Twitter whether I should do a video on epilepsy or Bell's palsy, you guys suggested that it be epilepsy. Well, I can only tell you what it's like to live with it. For me, I can give you facts and figures until I'm blue in the face and pass out. But as someone who actually lives with the what some would call a disability and what I would call a pain in the ass, you're just going to have to take my word for it. The days can be good, or they can be really bad. Take, for instance, the types of seizures I have. They vary. They vary a lot. I do have control over them now with the types of medications that I'm on, and I'll do a video on that later. That is, there are loads of medications for this epilepsy. Back to what I was initially saying, though. The seizures. There are many types, and I have many types. The worst one being the grand mal, or the tonic-clonic. That's what the doctors call it anyway. These seizures last a while. I never really know for how long. I know I usually end up with either a bite on my cheeks, the inside of them anyways, or my tongue being turned into hamburger because I've bitten through them or bitten the hell out of them. My body, well, I guess the best way to put it into perspective is it flops around like a fish out of water. When I'm coming out of the seizure, I'm not really coherent, and I don't really know what's going on around me either. It's like I've had the worst nightmare in my life, whilst also having the worst possible migraine added to it. I have the faculties to move around, but only just. And I'm also screaming my head off. My husband says that me screaming lasts anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes. It isn't until I've completely stopped screaming that I realize what has happened to me and I become coherent again. I also have seizures that I have always called drop attacks, but the doctors call petit mals or absent seizures. These seizures are, well, for lack of a better word, kind of like fainting spells. I've always called them drop attacks, but the correct term is a petit mal. However, it just didn't seem to fit to me because I would quite literally drop to the floor or collapse onto whatever I was on. I have fallen off of things before, and to me, these are the scariest seizures I have. They just come out of nowhere. One minute you'll be taking a shower, or doing the dishes, or going for a walk, and just that quick you're on the ground. No loss of consciousness, just knees go out from under you, muscles won't work, and you'll collapse. It's like your whole body all of a sudden has that numb feeling when you've sat on it for too long, except when you hit the ground, you feel it. I don't know how many scratches, bruises, and scars I have gotten because of those drop attacks. They're definitely not any fun. Then I have the staring spells. These are another form of absent seizure. These would happen about 3 to 4 times a week, or so my husband tells me. I was never actually aware that any of these happened. You see, with these seizures, I would start a conversation, then stop talking. I wasn't actually aware of how long it would last for. My husband told me they only lasted a couple of seconds, but then I would pick right back up to where I left off, none the wiser. I would do that with a lot of things. I also have what are known as auras. Most people with epilepsy have auras right before a seizure is going to hit, whereas I get them whether I have a seizure or not. When it comes to the said auras, I would see stars most of the time. I also see colors, which messes with my head. Last and certainly not the least of which is the vertigo. That goes with the seizure list, but as it's not necessarily classified as a seizure, I cannot directly say that it is one. However, if you've ever had vertigo to the point where you've wanted to vomit before, you know how I feel. Where when you stand up and the room is spinning and you instantly want to sit back down because you know as soon as you lift your foot to take a step, you will fall. Well, vertigo can be the bane of my existence. I still get that. No matter how many times I try to deal with it, I don't know if there's anything that any medication will do to take care of it permanently. There are just the types of those are just the types of seizures that I have, with the exception of the last one, of course. But even with the last one, it still has the feeling of a seizure with how bad it gets at times. Epilepsy is, as I said, not fun when the bad things happen. However, it can be managed and you can live a normal life. You can live a happy, semi normal life as long as you take your medication regularly as advised. Life with epilepsy can be hard at times. Remembering to take your medication, constantly getting your dosages checked to make sure that they aren't too high or vice versa. Or if you have a weird type of epilepsy that adjusts to your medication, you have to constantly get your medications changed. However, I have been living with this pain in the ass a long time. I was technically diagnosed with it 14 years ago. I had been having my drop attacks for a while prior to that. And no one was any the wiser because no one in my family had epilepsy before or knew anything about it. So when I was diagnosed, I was treated with what others would call kid gloves and what I called China doll syndrome because people acted like I would break. I understand now in hindsight why no one knew anything about it, but back then I was annoyed. I thought everything was fine. I had one grand mal seizure. I thought I could live the rest of my life with just that one grand mal seizure in my past and go about my life as normal. I soon found out how wrong I was, but I did learn that what life does for you, it teaches you when you aren't looking. Whilst I was trying to avoid my epilepsy and live my life was trying to teach me about my epilepsy and force me to realize that it is in fact a part of it. It wasn't until much later in life that I realized that I live with epilepsy, not that I'm ruled by epilepsy. I can control it. I live a normal life. I am a normal person. No more am I treated with the China doll syndrome, and I haven't been for a very long time. When people found out that I wouldn't break from them hugging me too tightly, or on one occasion giving me a tattoo, they eventually did, though it took some slow starts, started treating me normal again. Now, I'm just Sharati, a normal person, well, as normal as you can get in this world we live in today. I think everyone has a quirk or two. Some people like to climb mountains. Some people have diabetes. Me, I have epilepsy. It isn't always fun, but it isn't the worst thing on the planet. I mean, look at those people who climb mountains. Geez, the insane heights those people climb to. They have to be insane. Well, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Oh, and don't forget to comment and subscribe. Ciao for now.